Welcome to Dirty Pretty, the space where we own our feelings, honor our experience, and share our truths unabashedly while looking at it all through a lens of love. Today, we're blessed to have my very dear friend, Lauren Remisi, with us. She's the owner, operator, and designer of Cut from the Same Cloth, a sustainable women's clothing brand born from a fusion of a love for fashion, nature, and my personal favorite part, inspired by creating clothes for her beloved Barbies. This brand is not just about fashion, it's a celebration of art, nature, and the empowerment of women, for which Lauren maintains by naming each piece after influential women who have inspired her. Cut from the Same Cloth honors the multifaceted aspects of life and the human journey by inviting style to meet substance and fashion to meet a commitment to a better, more sustainable world. Lauren welcomes all to experience living a stylized expression in the name of art, nature, and empowerment. And in my opinion, she creates cool shit for cool people because Lauren is cool with a capital C. Welcome, my friend.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of
And
course.
thank you for the lovely compliment.
Of course. It's very easy. I will admit to everybody watching, this is a Lauren original. I turned it around. You can wear it different ways. Lauren, you're also wearing original pieces, right?
I am. Do you know I didn't even realize you had one of my pieces on?
Well, it's that fabulous. It's
It
fabulous.
is.
It
I
is.
miss that piece. I love
It's
that
it is
piece.
one of my most favorites. I have several of Lauren's pieces. If you are a follower of my stuff, if you see this big furry coat that I often wear, Lauren made that too.
Yep.
She's making all sorts of cool shit, and I'm so excited to have her here to talk about just the real nuance of what it is to be a business owner and be a person and own the good and the bad, the dirty and the pretty of life.
Yep.
So we're just going to jump right in.
Okay.
All right. Out of all the things you could professionally choose, all of them, why is being a designer for you?
I think being a designer marries a lot of the things that I value, or things that are maybe important to me, or things that bring me joy. That's probably the best thing.
Mhm.
Um, I love helping people, and I think the reward of it is seeing people like yourself in my pieces, and you look great, you feel great. It just completely transforms your overall being, and I love that. And I love obviously creating. I mean, that's my passion, is just creating things, seeing something, from just an idea to its actuality brings me joy. Um, I've always loved fashion. Like I said, part of my story is my Barbies. I used to sit there and just style my Barbies, and I would have like a boutique where I would have clothing for Barbie and put all her little outfits together, and that never went away from me. I absolutely love doing that. So to make clothing, I get to still engage with people and see, people have positive, beautiful, transformational responses to something that I've created.
Mhm.
And it's stuck with me since I was a child.
I love that you noted that a part of it is that you love seeing people in your pieces.
Yeah.
Because for me, what I hear when you say that is, it gives you a difference of perspective, right? Like, I'm sure when you're creating something, you have an essence in mind, right?
Yeah.
And then when you see it on someone else, is there ever a moment where it's like, I would have never thought of that, or that's such a great way to wear it in a way that makes you feel invigorated, like the piece is coming to life by the
Yeah.
wearer of the garment?
Yes. Yes. Or bringing new life. I mean, just recently, a girl who had a couple of my pieces styled this outfit, these two pieces that she had gotten from me, in a way that I would have never expected, and it looked amazing, and it was just kind of like a like one of those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So I want to jump into really understanding like what this podcast is all about, right? What your likes and dislikes are about it. Because in essence, my experience is that you can really love something and still have annoyances about it. There can
Oh yeah.
still be things that just kind of aggravate you, but such is the nature of loving something, right?
Yeah.
Loving it holistically with its good and its bad parts, because like we all have them, right? So, what are three things you most love about what you do? Like, why is it fun and exciting?
um I mean, I guess just being like a lover of fashion.
Mhm.
It's so much fun and brings me like, like a just a positive energy to be able to visualize something in my head or have an idea of like that could look kind of cool. And like I said before, you kind of take it from like just a simple idea that pops in your head to actuality.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, I would definitely say that. And I'm sorry, remind me again what you were asking.
Yeah. What are three things that you would name that you love about it, right? So
Oh,
you said
okay.
like
So that
from
would be one.
inception to creation was one of
Yep.
them.
Um, I love, I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily so much about like actual creation, but I love being able to style my clothing. I think that's a ton of fun. And I also love again being able to engage and interact with my customers. Like I love, and that's just I guess business 101 in general, but like building a community and building people who are end up being your people.
Yeah, yeah. So is there any part of it that's like, a humble brag, right? Like this was my brain baby and now other people like it, right? I think that there's this stigma in our culture that we swing pendulums all the time, right? We go to extremes all the time, right? And there's sometimes this narrative out there that if you need validation, then you have low self-esteem and you're codependent and all the stuff. But when someone likes your stuff, that validation is really invigorating, I think. So is there any part of it that when somebody takes your brain baby and really enjoys it, that feels validating for you in your expertise?
Um, I don't know. You're saying just kind of like a specific moment. I'm not.
No, just like, so is there any part of it that's like, wow, I created that. These people like it. I'm on to something. I'm a good designer.
I mean, I think that happens on a regular basis. I
Yeah.
think it's just kind of like, I mean, everybody has their insecurities. And I think sometimes when you are, thinking about an idea for, a top or a bottom or a dress or whatever, you're like, okay, I think this is cool as hell. But like when I make it, I'm like, oh God, like, are people going to like this? Are people going to buy this?
Mhm.
Um, and there are definite times when that doesn't happen, and maybe you're the one solo person that's like, oh, that was really cool, and not many other people do. But 9 times out of 10, the most of the stuff that you do, it's like it feels good. It like you said, it gives validation. It's like, okay, people like this idea.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that because I think that people feel like they need to have mass appeal in order to be like, I'm a writer, I'm a designer, right? And I think
Yeah,
for me, in my mind, the minute that you commit, then you're that thing, right? If you commit
yeah,
and you write a piece, you're a writer. If you commit and you put your, garment out into the world, you're a designer.
yeah,
And I think that aspect of like owning your lane, owning your genius, not only empowers you to continue on, but to continue on when you have, the valleys, when you have the hard moments, when you're like, this is the cat's meow, and it's like no one buys the fucking thing.
yeah.
So, in that regard, what are three things that would be the most challenging about what you do? Like, why is it shitty? Why does it suck?
I'm trying to think of my top three. There's a lot of, I guess, people think like, oh, you make clothing, it's got to be like all glamorous and you're working with models and fabric and like what's portrayed like in movies or something. You have like a designer working in their atelier and telling people
What's
that's
atelier?
bad, that's ugly. Yeah, what?
What is atelier? Is that like custom?
Yeah, it's like their
Okay.
place where they will construct the garments. It's usually like, high-end fashion kind of thing. But like people
Okay.
have this very like over glamorized view of what it is, but there's a lot of unglamorous stuff. I think a lot of the unglamorous stuff revolves around sewing the garment itself.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of, icky that goes into that sometimes, and a lot of like learning and a lot of mistakes and a lot of seam ripping for me. And this is maybe more specific to my business, but I make the clothing, I don't work with factories. So I'm sewing. Sometimes I will hire a seamstress to help out when things get really busy, so someone else will also be sewing. Um, but I think that pressure of, and again, I know this is a my business specific, but that pressure right there sometimes is like not so fun. Um, I think also when a customer is in the mindset of consuming fast fashion, or like Amazon has really destroyed a lot of this, they expect something absolutely immediately. So it's like, I'm going to order this for you, but it needs to be on my doorstep tomorrow. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not my business. So I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say that that's necessarily bad, but there's a lot of frustration sometimes that's built up around that. It's just, you want to change people's mindset on clothing, and how clothing is made and the delivery process on clothing. And so I think there's some frustration about that, in the industry, in my business specifically. And then, geez, a third thing that I don't love, I don't know. I guess like late nights, staying up. Not, I think just being a business owner, wearing a million different hats. I think that's a challenge too. It's like, I am the social media director, I'm the creative director, I'm sewing, I'm doing graphics, I'm marketing. It's just like an endless amount of jobs that kind of pile up. So I would definitely say that that's probably my third.
My curiosity is, right, you mentioned Amazon, because not only is Amazon speedy in their delivery, right?
Yeah.
But their price point is often it can be more accessible. And so when you're a custom designer and you are taking the effort and the attention to be really considerate about your garments, because sustainability is really important to you, the price
Mhm.
point is different. So do you
Right.
ever meet any resistance on the cost of your garments? Because as you said, not only are you creating them custom, but there is a sustainability factor to your fabrics
Yep.
that can cause the price point to be more expensive, correct?
Correct. Um, yeah, I definitely think that there's at times pushback, but I also think the people who gravitate towards my clothing understand a lot of those values and look for those values. I
Mm.
think, the people who are going to shop fast fashion are going to stay in that lane, sadly. Um, you
Mm.
know, but I also am hopeful, and, thinking that mindset of people will kind of start to shift, especially, as climate change gets a little more and more aggressive. I think people are going to kind of start to realize, like, okay, it's not cool that all this unused stuff from a brand that I shop from is sitting in like a massive landfill in a desert somewhere, just
Right.
sitting there.
Right.
Um, So yes, I mean there's definite, like, why is it so expensive? But I think for the people who get it, they get it.
Do you ever find yourself in a position where you're explaining the price point and you're explaining the difference of fabrics and tangibility? For instance, if you're buying something that is sustainable, it has a staying power, right? So when
Yeah,
you wash a t-shirt that might be like $7, it may have a different wear factor. And so my curiosity is, when you're an entrepreneur and you're a business owner, there is a need to have boundaries, right?
yeah,
There's because you, as you mentioned, wear many different hats. And so for some people who get into entrepreneurialism, they may find themselves over explaining themselves for the sake of a sale, for the sake of getting an audience, right? So that
yeah,
their product or what they're delivering converts to money so they can make money, right? You need to make money in order to sustain your business as well.
yeah.
So, what's your take on explaining how you handle and manage your business, or the essence of your business, considering it's sustainable, right?
Yep.
How do you manage that?
I think it's actually really important to do so. I think that's part of the larger conversation that needs to happen, because, like I said, people are in that mindset that, like, you know, I guess like so here's a little tidbit. I used to be a fast fashion junkie. So, yeah.
You're
So
recovering?
back it, I've definitely recovered. But here's the difference. So I've always had, and this obviously goes back to my childhood. So, in my early 20s, I was a complete party girl, and it was like many events, multiple events, each night, had to have different outfits, had to like, constantly have something new. So that was my fast fashion era because it was so easy. Stores like Forever 21 were like just becoming popular at that time. And it was so easy to just run in there and get like a quick, cheap outfit and go on with the night. So the thing about me is I hoard clothing as well because to
You said
me it's
hoard,
like
right? You said hoard.
hoard,
Okay, okay.
hoard, HOR, yeah,
Uh,
HORD. Um, I I keep all the stuff that I've ever had. Like I don't get rid of it. I have things like I was 21 years old, and I don't know. Do you remember Arden B?
oh my gosh, yes.
So I was a manager at Arden B during that time, and I have all of my pieces that I bought from when I worked at Arden B.
Mhm.
I still wear those pieces today.
Mhm.
So for me, for that kind of stuff, like I don't toss it. I hang on to it.
Mhm.
And if it's something that I'm like, yeah, I don't want to look at that for a while, I put it in storage.
Mhm.
And 9 times out of 10, it's going to come back in style and I'm going to pull it right back out of the archives.
Right.
That being said, it was my same relationship with vintage stuff.
Mhm.
So where I'm going with that is during my fast fashion junkie era, I never really thought about who's making my clothing. I didn't care. It was just kind of like oh, that's a really cute outfit, I'm going to grab it and wear it. It had no thought ever crossed my mind that like somebody is working and making this.
Mhm.
So I've completely lost my train of thought. Where were we? What was your original question? And I apologize.
So just understanding your boundaries around articulating what
Oh, the
you do
story.
as
Yeah.
being, yeah.
So sorry, I got off on a tangent.
No, you're
So
a human being.
So it wasn't until I started to get into this that I'm like, it's work. It's an artistry. It's a craft. It's not just like as thoughtless as, like, there's like no thought behind it. So I think it is important to educate
Mhm.
and to talk about why your product is more expensive. I've put in X amount of hours. I've purchased this fabric, which is certified and has, it's Better Cotton Initiative, for example, or, it's important to educate people, and explain why things do cost the way they do. And then maybe in hindsight, they'll look at those fast fashion pieces and be like, geez, I paid $10 for this.
Right.
What the heck is it made of? What was the, quality of life that the people making my stuff, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Where's all the excess going? I don't keep an inventory. Mine's made to order unless I do a pop-up, and then I have a very small inventory that I'll eventually, obviously sell off the rest of the pieces that I haven't sold. So I don't consume an inventory that I'm like, got to get rid of it, go onto a landfill. I make it as it comes in. That way I don't waste.
Right. And
So I got off on a tangent with that whole entire story. But the point is I do think it's important, and I think it's a conversation that has to be had. I understand where some people are like, I can't believe I have to like go through my whole like business model to sell this piece. But to reframe somebody's mind and to really make them understand, why you're selling a t-shirt for $50 versus I'm going to go to Hanes and buy this $2 t-shirt and throw a picture on it.
right.
No.
Well, and I think first of all, the thing that I love about this is Lauren is my friend, and like I'm learning things about you right now that I didn't know about you.
Oh,
And
like my fast fashion junkie?
yeah, I love that, right? It humanizes it, right? This is why I wanted to have these conversations. The dirty pretty of life is like, we have with social media, beautiful access to people at different parts of the country that you can grow with and learn about, but you get this refined image of them oftentimes, right? And
Right.
so for you to share and disclose, like I still have vintage pieces from Art and B or Forever and 21. I have the same thing. And I think it gives a perspective of like, you're not trying to outprice a market of people. You're
No.
just trying to stay in integrity with what, as you said, your business model or your larger vision
Yeah.
for what you want to create
Right.
is. And with
Right.
sometimes it can feel isolating, right? But it's an investment, right? You're going to invest your money and your energy into the things that are important and meaningful for you. We just happen to be fashion whores. And so we are fine with making the investment because I would dare to say, I would dare to say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times the fashion is an expression of the individual that they don't have to articulate. And
Or it
that
makes you feel a certain way. You know what I mean? Like
exactly,
you feel one way when you're in like, your comfy clothes at home versus I'm going out this evening, I'm done up, I have an outfit, I feel great about myself.
yes,
Your energy that you put off is like night and day. It's
yes.
completely different. And that is the element that is like so important to me is like I'm contributing to somebody just feeling really freaking great about themselves.
Yeah. And I
And
think
I
that
love that.
yes, and I really appreciate you saying that too, because oftentimes there can be that stark contrasting opinion when we have access to things or we have disagreements on things, right? Some people listening to this or watching this may find it unreasonable to pay $50 for a t-shirt, like your example was, right? But that's not you trying to exclude anybody. You're just creating room in the conversation for your perspective. And it's not that you disparage their perspective. It's not that you look down on them because they can't buy your things or they don't choose to have sustainability or they don't have access, the means to access sustainability. It's just you honoring your vision. It's not meant to be isolating. It's meant to add another facet of creativity to a conversation, right?
Right. Well, for me too, with the sustainability piece in my business, it only and this was kind of a learning experience. See, I mean, here's my thing. Like, and this kind of goes along with what you're saying. We're all human. Okay.
Mhm.
We all have human moments. A lot of those human moments are learning moments, right? So you don't just like wake up and, you're holier than thou or, you know, can't remember. I know in our private conversation, we talked about Vanderpump Rules and
Oh yeah. I
a
was like, what's she
specific
gonna
character
say?
being on her moral high ground. So
Right, right, right.
you don't just wake up and you're perfect.
Mhm.
There's learning moments in that. And for me, when I first started my brand, I wasn't really so much thinking about sustainability. There's so many layers to me and my business, but I'm self-taught. So my business when I started it off came from a huge place of insecurity because it's like I don't have the technical training. I didn't go to college for this. I'm literally picking up college textbooks from fashion school and trying to figure this shit out on my own. So
Wow.
when I started my business, I wasn't so much focused on the sustainability. But as those conversations were happening and the tragedy that happened at Rana Plaza in India where, all those garment workers died,
Mm.
it really started to make me think like I feel icky doing this.
Mhm.
And to do this in the traditional sense of, I'm going to work with a factory overseas that does not value their workers, just like how things have been going in the fashion industry. It
Right.
didn't feel good to me. I've always been a granola girl since I was a kid. I basically like spent my whole entire childhood in the woods in a creek,
Mhm.
like constantly playing outdoors in nature. So that's always been a value of mine.
Mhm.
And slowly but surely, as I've had access to things, I've started to incorporate more and more sustainability and sustainability practices in my business. And again, being a small company, like my aspiration, one of the designers that I think is fabulous is Mara Hoffman.
Mhm.
From an outsider perspective, looking into what I can see of her business, it's fabulous.
Mhm.
She incorporates sustainability. She has access to like some really amazing and innovative fabrics that I would love to have access to, but I'm a small player in the game.
Right.
So I'm still growing in that avenue. I'm still growing in my journey of sustainability. But every day, if I could do one little teeny tiny thing that just helps be a little bit better in the avenue of sustainability or just caring for the earth and how the fashion industry, leaves such a massive impact on the world.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It's something.
Yeah. I think what I hear you saying is like, look, I'm not posturing that I'm perfect. I'm just still practicing getting to the place that you want to be in your business. And that requires trial and error, right? The dirty, pretty aspects of things, like figuring out, well, that was a wash, that didn't work, that sucked,
Yeah.
that was shitty.
Yeah.
And then, figuring out the way to solution engineer that or even pivot away from it and being like, you know what, it's going to require too much. It's going to be too expensive. Like you were saying, access is going to be limited, right? It's trying the best you can to be in integrity with your intention around what your brand, what you want it to be.
1,000%. Yes.
Wonderful. So with both likes and dislikes, like I feel like you gave a really hearty perspective for anybody that's like, okay, Lauren didn't go to fashion school. She's picking up books and she's self-taught. You're really giving encouragement to people to not feel limited by lack of accreditations or having articles after their name.
Right.
I also don't hear you saying don't do that or not discrediting that. You're just saying it's possible. Don't slight yourself the opportunity if this is what you're really passionate about.
Right.
So with both likes and dislikes for designing and creating, besides money, besides like this supports my life,
Mhm.
why do you sustain it? Why do you continue to pursue this career path, knowing all of its challenges, knowing that you had to be self-taught, knowing that there are things out of your reach constantly?
Because I can't not. I know that's like such a dumb answer, but
Oh,
I can't, like, there's been several times where I'm like, okay, this is just like, I can't do this. Like, it's breaking me, like my mental health has gone down the shitter, my physical health has gone down the shitter. Like, I need to just like step away. Like, this isn't me anymore, whatever. There's been times and I'm like, let me just take a break. Let me get off social media for a while. Let me do this. But
mhm.
I find myself going right back to it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll start off, I'm like, well, I'm just going to play around on the computer. And I'm like, on my 3D design software, just tooling around, messing around, doing things. And I'm like, I'm back at it again. Like, it just keeps calling me.
You're
So,
sounds like in a love affair with it.
right, right. And there's times where we absolutely hate each other. And then there's times when I'm like, you're the best thing in the whole entire world.
Right. I don't want to hear you breathe right now. Go into another part of the house or
Yeah.
down the block. I don't want to.
Don't look at me. Don't even look at me. Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
Right. And I'm sure that there are times, like you said, you didn't say it this way, but I'm assuming that there are times where you wake up and you're like, I just don't have any creative zhuzh to give this right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody can say that. Burnout is the realest thing in the whole entire world. And you just have to find like what centers you. I mean, just in my current situation, I'm gearing up for a pop-up and I had some challenges. It was kind of like, one of those days where you're like, my brain is officially broken. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just not, like, I'm not putting the presser foot down on the machine and I'm trying to sew. Like, what's wrong with me? Like I'm having a day.
Mhm.
And it's those moments where you just have to like step away and do something that is going to like recharge you, get your mind off of it, put you in a better headspace, and then come back to the next day with
Mhm.
like a fresher set of eyes. But there's definite, definitely days that are like that.
Yeah, learn to pause, not to quit. And also, I hear you saying, don't let assumption lead you down a path that because you don't have the zhuzh or the zest for it every single freaking day, that you're not impassioned by it, you're not in love with it. I think we're both like traipsing around like the relationship comparison of like, you love your partner, but it's like, God, I can't even, just don't breathe around me. Get away from me. Like if I hear you
Yeah.
chew one more time, right? It just Sometimes you get on each other's nerves, you get frustrated with each other, but that becomes a part of the process, right? It becomes the gut check moment of sometimes you do have to ask yourself, is this really for me?
Right.
And and in answering that question, you have to honestly look at the side that says maybe not.
Right.
And when we look at
Or
the
take a break and find
yes,
out. Give yourself that space to explore and be like, okay, I'm so much happier that I stopped. Like, I'm in such a better place. Or it's calling me, like I'm on a break, but like that's all I keep thinking about, or it's like I have these. Have you seen The Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
no, I haven't seen that yet, but I've seen
Okay.
reviews and things for it.
Okay. So part of it is this girl who's like a complete genius when it comes to chess. I think she takes pills or whatever, but she sees the chess moves in the game on her ceiling when she's in bed at night. And I literally have those moments. It's like I'm laying in bed and I'm sewing a garment or designing a garment or figuring out how it's going to fit. And I think, like, okay, this is how I know, like, this is my thing. Like, I love this. Like, I'm not going to walk away from this.
Yes, I have the same thing. Scott's my husband, for those of you watching that don't know. Scott and Lauren actually knew each other in school, which is how I got to know Lauren. But he'll say to me, like, I'll be cooking dinner and he'll be like, didn't you say we were supposed to be eating in 10 minutes? It's like 20 minutes later because I've been on my phone writing
Yeah.
a concept down, like fleshing out an idea, and I'm like, oh shit. But yes, there are moments where you have to really give yourself the opportunity to understand that it's not always going to feel like your loins are on fire. But I think that love is that way. It
Yeah.
grows, you have to create it, and you have to
Yeah.
allow for there to be, kind of like lulls or boring moments because that's just the nature of relationship. And I hear you talking about it, and it's really resonating with me as like this seduction, this romance.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I look at everything. Everything in our life is a relationship. Money is a relationship. Love is a relationship. Food is a relationship, right? And in the sense of romance, though, is it healthy? Right. And I hear you talking about like reviewing that. Like it's healthy to take a break. It's
Oh, yeah.
healthy to take your space and get your own thoughts. Take a break from social media. Stop, consuming. Get
Right.
into yourself and see it for yourself.
Right. Yeah. Because I think in that space of social media, too, it's a lot of noise that's not your own.
Right. And I
And
love
so
that.
that's why it's important. And it's great to hear that noise sometimes, because like I said, there's learning moments and everything. And, it also maybe can give you some fresh perspective or insight to somebody else. But it's also good to take a step away and really figure out like what's true to you.
Right. And I love that you pointed that out because that's the essence of this dirty, pretty conversation that I'm having with people is, being able to understand that your perspective matters, but oftentimes, like this conversation you and I are having, someone could be perceiving as noise, right?
Yeah,
However, sometimes when you are presented information from a different perspective, it gives you a brain baby, it gives you an aha, something clicks that maybe would have taken you longer to have the click. But
right,
because you were exposed to it, it triggers something and you can get there quicker.
right.
So I love that you pointed that out. And I want to ask you, the next element of this is now that you've gone through the pros and the cons, essentially, like the likes and the dislikes, the things to just be aware of with love affairs, such as what you do for a living, why do you think that you're suitable for this profession? Why do you think that, Lauren is a great designer? It makes sense for her to be a designer.
Um, I mean, it just goes back to my childhood because that's what I've always done. You know, it's what I love to do. I don't know, it brings me joy.
Mhm.
And I think that that's important. It's not to me, it's not just a job. It's not I've had jobs, where it's like you're on autopilot and you just like check in. This is more than just a job. It's about passion, it's about my state of being. I mean, in all honesty, my meditation is like sitting in the in front of the sewing machine and sewing. I like zone out, I meditate, I have, thoughts, things come to me. It's, I don't know. I just, again, it's like I said, when I was on a break from doing this, it's like I can't not do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It sounds like there's a part of you that you find in doing it each
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Awesome.
for sure.
So, any final thoughts that you would like to add to this conversation for just your general, you want to put something out into the universe, or maybe something that for somebody that's watching this and is heavily, has the same passion for fashion that you do, and it just ticks all their boxes, and they're also configuring things on the ceiling at night, just naturally, organically, it's not something that they have to do, it's just something that they do because it's who they are.
Yeah.
Any thoughts you'd like to add?
Just, I think the biggest takeaway is to just be true to yourself, block out the noise that does not matter to you. And like, just, I know this sounds so like cliche, but don't give up on what you want to do. Things get hard, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen people just say, like, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it. Find a way. Find a way. If it's something you truly love,
Mhm.
you will find a way. So I mean, as cliche as it is, just don't give up. I mean, I didn't go to school, and I thought at that point in time that I did not end up going to college for fashion. Like,
Mhm.
and I did. That was my narrative for a while. That's why I had like many different jobs that were not fashion related. I worked in the hair industry for don't I mean clearly my hair, but I'm just saying
She's
like
been saying this whole time before we got on here. Like, your hair looks fabulous. What is the
no,
deal?
hate
You do
hair.
have like
Working
some
with
hair
hair.
sticking out on the side there, though. Like,
I
yeah,
know I
look
do,
that
and
up.
I
Okay, you
keep
got it. You're
messing
good.
with it.
You're
But
good.
anyhow, I keep no, I hate hair, but like I've worked in the hair industry for so many years. But like, after not deciding to go to college, I did make that my narrative, and I was like, okay, I just need to like find a job, find a career path, find something. I don't know what I want to do. And I did do that for a while, and it was like I was dead inside. It was like not fulfilling. It was like autopilot, checking in, like doing I'm an overachiever, so doing the bare minimum for me is like, oh, you're doing a great job. But like for me, it's kind of just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just kind of like floating through this until I decided to do this.
Mhm.
And then I was able to be creative and authentic and call my own shots. And, again, there's good and bad that come with it. So just whatever you're passionate about, stick with it.
Yeah, don't quit just because it's hard.
Yeah, everything's hard. Everything is going to get hard at some point in time. But you'll
Right.
have moments where you're like, oh, things are coming easy. Now things are hard. I think the most important thing too is like learn to pivot.
Mhm.
Just in general, learn to pivot. Pivot in life, pivot in career. Like you've got to figure out that next step. Like times are tough. What can I do now that's still in line with what I'm doing, but like a slight pivot that will help me?
Yeah.
So,
And oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
So speaking of before, how we were saying, this could be noise to someone, or it could have so many brain babies to somebody and really inspire them, spark something or whatever, right? And just that last nugget that you gave sparked something in me, because I've been very similar to you. I've had jobs where I've been in the astral plane somewhere where I'm like on the phone talking. I'm not really
Yeah.
doing
No, you're not there. You're just it's like a script. It's like
Yes.
you're a robot and it's like completely programmed in you and you're just da 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 da. But like meanwhile, you're somewhere else.
Oh, totally. So that
Yeah.
bare minimum concept, I'm so familiar with. And for a while, it would make me feel terrible about myself, because whether or not you want to admit it, when you're phoning it in.
Yeah.
When you're phoning it in. And you're right. When it comes to something that challenges you, don't let hard be a reason to stop. Give it some thought, right? Just like you said, give taking a pause some thought. give the hard some thought and understand what it will give you, how it will challenge you to grow, what it may reveal to you about yourself might be that opposite end of phoning it in. It might be the thing that's like, yeah, I may not be phoning it in, but I am present. This may be hard, but I do care,
Yeah.
right? And that can flick a light bulb in and of itself because quite honestly, I had been thinking that a long time, right? Of like, wow, I phone it in on so many jobs
Yeah.
where sometimes you get a lot of, accolades. You get a lot of praise, like you're doing so great. And you're kind of like, I am. I mean, I guess, because you don't really care, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when you put yourself into something that you love, it's important to discern that when it doesn't automatically go the way you want or isn't always going the way you want, peaks and valleys,
Yep.
you are frustrated and you are challenged by it because you give a shit.
Yep.
And that is the dirty pretty.
And
So,
the other thing too that I want to throw in there is to try and be kind to yourself. And I can also
yes,
take my own advice on that because I'm so hard on myself. But be kind on yourself because, and I'm going back to this again, you are a human living a human experience. So don't let other people's judgments or criticisms weigh so heavy on you.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned before that you have a pop-up coming up. So
Sure.
let people know, what do you have coming up?
Yeah. So May 11th and 12th, which is, I hope I have those dates right. It's Mother's Day weekend. We will be popping up in Portland, Oregon.
Ooh.
So anybody in the Pacific Northwest area, Seattle, where I'm at, or Portland, or around there, come check it out. It'll be more information will be on my Instagram, so you can get all the dirty details there.
Which is a good next question. Where can people get more of you? Where can they access you? Where
Yeah, absolutely. So on the gram, I am cut from same cloth. And then my website is www.cutfromsamecloth.com.
Beautiful. Thank you for
Yeah.
being here, my friend. I love you
Thank
so
you for
much.
having me. Thank you so
And
much.
for those of you watching or listening, thank you for being here. Until next time, be good to yourself, for fuck's sake. Live honestly in the dirty pretty of your life and just choose to do the next right thing for you. Bye.
Bye.